Hello, everyone. I'm Annie Gibbins, and you're listening to Memoirs of Successful Women, the podcast where you get to hear candid conversations with fascinating women from around the globe who share aspects of their business and life journey, how they measure their success, and what they have learnt along the way. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Memoirs of Successful Women. Today, I'm super excited to be introducing to you Kathrine Wells, who, with 25 years of software marketing experience as an executive, Kathrine's life totally changed when her mother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. In her journey of care for both of her parents, her passion for creating a change for a better future was ignited. And after deep research into the senior care industry, Kathrine left her corporate career behind and dove into developing a way to keep everyone providing care for an elder, including family members, on the same page. So she combined her business experience with her passion, who doesn't love that, for improving communication to create an interconnected, secure conversation platform that gives family peace of mind and streamlines all of those important communications with care providers and their loved ones within and across organizations. So a super impressive lady, super excited to welcome you to the program. Welcome,
Wow.
Kathrine.
I'm like, wait, who wrote that? Who is that? Who is she talking about? My goodness, that is amazing.
Oh, well, you
I feel really special.
You are very special and you are super amazing. So I'm really excited about being able to share your story and what led you to do something really amazing. You know, we all, dream of leaving a legacy and also creating something that's of value. And you've certainly sort of combined all of that while enjoying the benefits of what you've created at this time. So
Yeah, thank you for that, and managing all of the challenges along the way too. So,
yeah.
everything is a balancing act.
It sure is. And dementia is, such a significant challenge, distress. It comes with so many emotions when a loved one gets diagnosed with dementia to start, or Alzheimer's disease. And so, our heart goes out immediately to everyone and every family member who has to sort of embrace this time. So it certainly doesn't take that challenge away. What we're chatting today, it's actually just trying to make it a better situation for all involved.
Yeah, a little bit easier, eliminate the unnecessary obstacles and
Yeah.
pains.
So let's
Yeah.
start by telling everyone about yourself. What was your journey like to be a senior software executive to start? How did that career pan out? Were you always a little nerdy geek?
Oh, yes, I was. Yes, I was. And this, for those listening to this will give away my age, but I had a Commodore 64 computer in the 10th grade that I used to program on. And it was so much fun that I would go to the store, because the stores back then, we didn't really have Best Buy and all these stores with everything locked down. So it was a Kmart, if you're familiar with that brand. It's a US brand. And they had the computers, all the different computers that were personal computers, which were brand new. PCs were brand new concept at the time. They had them actually on the counter in the electronics section. And I would go back there immediately when we'd go to the store and just write a little program and let it run until someone else came along and wrote a little program. So yeah, I'm a little nerdy. I love math. I won't say I'm the best at it, but I loved it until I got to really the deep calculus stuff. I just couldn't do it. So I decided at that point I was not good at math, and I went into marketing, and I really focused on connection, because I think that my two sort of innate superpowers are connecting people and having connections with people, and math, if that's such a thing. Like, not the high super, physics scientist kind of math, but the ability to be logical
Yeah.
and create a solution to a problem.
Ah,
Yeah. So
brilliant.
yeah, I'm a gadget girl too. I'm a total gadget girl. I am the early adopter for everything. When there's something new that comes out, I want to be the first one to try it.
And you've
Yeah.
also paid top dollar for it then.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just, I don't know what it is about technology, but I am a big fan. I love it.
You love it. I
Yeah.
know, because your mind's obviously always thinking, what's next? How can we do this in a new, innovative way, a more efficient
Yes.
way? And so
Yeah.
every time something comes out, it's like, yes, that is so much better, until the
Yes.
next
And
one.
exactly. And then you start to see potential for things that didn't even exist before. So this is the other thing I love to do. I love to create. So I'm really good at being early in a company or starting and building and growing something.
Yeah.
Because when I have the blank slate, I create and then I grow on top of that. And much beyond that, when it gets to be a really big system, I've worked for big organizations before. I've worked for, the international corporations, Hewlett Packard, and some others. And I've worked for small startups and everything in between. And
Yeah.
I find that my love is in the startups. I love to wear multiple hats. I love to make a difference. I want to know every day when I go to bed that I made a difference with what I did or what I didn't do that day, had
Mm.
an impact on somebody.
Mm. I relate to that in a different sort of way. I'm also, excuse me, the CEO of an eye health charity, and I love that potential in a smaller organization, even not for profit or a charity or in a small business, that ability to go, gee, you can actually just create. You don't have to,
Yeah.
have all the rules and regulations, and definitely policy and procedure is important. But that concept that you can actually create new things, and you don't have the same restrictions. It's
Yes.
really powerful. And that's right. For those who've got a creative flair or just love, managing change in a beautiful way, it's a good space to be in, as opposed to maintaining or having a very long timeline for those changes in different environments. So
Yes, yes, absolutely. And that's, I think, one of the beauties of being an entrepreneur and being a smaller company. You
mm,
can pivot much quicker than a large organization can.
for
You can
sure.
get something out there faster. So you can run the experiments, you can try something, you can get the feedback from the market really quickly and then make the changes that you need to make.
Yeah.
And that was always a frustration in some of the larger organizations I worked for, was the amount of time it took to get something done when
Yeah.
you knew it could just be done.
Exactly. What are we waiting for?
Mhm, mhm.
Like tick, 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 and then someone required a permission level or something needs to get checked. I know, I know. People
Yeah.
like you and I get frustrated in that environment for sure. So you built an amazing career, 25 years, and ended up being an executive in a variety of different spheres, and which is super impressive and obviously super successful. So you're in this moment of your career, and you go, I've done really well, for that childhood geek who loved going to Kmart and playing on the technology. I've, mapped out my career, and I've got my family, and I'm doing really well. And then something must have happened. Where were you?
Mhm.
It's almost like, what was the situation that made you think, I need to go and create something else in a completely different way?
Yeah. Interestingly, the situation seems so benign when I describe it, but then I'll give you context around it. It was the day that I could not get my mother, who had Alzheimer's and lived in memory care, in to get her hair cut. That was the moment. So it
Mm,
seems like nothing big, right? It was probably the straw that broke the camel's back. So 10 years ago, my mom was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. They lived in a city that was 50 miles away from me, so I couldn't see them all the time, but I could go down on weekends. We moved mom into memory care. Shortly after, we found that dad wasn't doing so well on his own without mom. So we moved him into assisted living. And this is a very common thing for people who don't know on the senior care journey. If you have two people who have lived together a long time or rely on each other, and one of them moves into a memory care or assisted living or skilled nursing, you often find that the other person maybe wasn't doing as well as you thought they were.
Yeah.
And so I just put that out there because it's such a surprise for so many people. So when we moved Dad into assisted living and mom's in memory care, I'm still working. I have a very demanding job. I have kids at home. I have a marriage to tend to. I have myself to tend to,
Yes.
my own exercise and mental health. And I'm active, I'm involved. And so I was on committees and boards, and I had a lot of commitments in my life. And I really thought moving our folks into a care facility meant that they would take care of everything. And this is kind of this is a myth about senior care, is that when you move someone in, everything's handled. It actually doesn't happen that way. It's really like moving them into an apartment with care there that can give them their meds, make sure they're showered, and make sure they get fed and things like that. And they have activities to do. And so they're physically and mentally stimulated in that sense. But what they don't do is, my dad had diabetes. We had to bring in home health to give him his insulin shots. They don't provide that. So there's not a medical layer unless you're in skilled nursing.
Yeah.
If you need physical therapy, you have to bring someone in for that. Occupational therapy, they have doctors who round. They have on-site beauty shops so that people like my mom, who all her life had short hair and she really loved, she felt great when she had her hair done. And I could only call on Tuesdays and Thursdays between 9 and 3 p.m. in order to get an appointment. And I was lucky if I called and they answered. So finally I got an appointment. I showed up on the weekend and mom's hair wasn't cut. And I wanted to know why. Yeah. And it's just all of these little things that they're silos of communication. They're fragmented, fractured communication. So all these people are coming in, giving mom and dad care. And I didn't know, were they there? Did the doctor round this week? If so, what'd they say? What happened? And I'm the power of attorney. My mom's nonverbal, so she can't tell me what happened. Yeah. And, my dad told me once that no one had visited him. He hadn't seen any of his friends. And at his funeral, one of his friends told me that he had seen my dad every week. And I had no idea, not a clue.
Wow.
And it wasn't that my dad was hiding it. He just didn't remember.
Yeah, of course. Of course. And it's not a criticism of people, the other people doing their thing. people are visiting.
Right.
Nurses and staff are doing what they're paid to do. It's just the complexity. Yes. And I know this. I was an aged care teacher for a number of years with my nursing background. And that's exactly it. When you know the complexity of the other side to this, someone will call in sick. And so you've got an agency staff who might have never been to your facility before. So they're just doing the basics. They're not being they're not qualified. They're not trying. They are just doing what they can. And so, and then someone will make a phone call and you'll write it down on a bit of paper. It might not sort of be communicated or pushed through. And, we all, or something emergency will happen and then all your time goes out. And so the luxury items, I suppose, like someone's hair can easily get missed. And I can understand how it happens. It happens all the time. But it also, I also know that heartbreaking moment, like for you just go, wow, my mum, let's face it, doesn't have many joys, but I know she has such joy just getting something done that she's always done. And that's what it's like with Alzheimer's. It's the routine, it's the long-term memories. It's I go on a Friday and I get my hair done. It gets done in a certain way. And it's just almost like the feeling of it. It's, it doesn't have to even be exactly the same way. And so when that's just such a simple pleasure, and that's for you a number one priority, right? And then, but for the care facility, they're sort of saying, okay, well, no, don't worry. She doesn't have any bed sores. She's clean. She's had her meal. It's kind of like maintenance in a different way, not in a personal way, right?
Very much so. And I think that So I do thank you for saying all of that, because I want to be really clear that I don't think this is a people problem.
No.
I think it's a systems problem,
Mm.
and systems can be changed.
Yeah.
Um, the people that I see working in senior care are some of the most heroic people I've ever met. They are people who give their whole being to caring for our loved ones.
Yeah.
And they'll give up their holidays, they'll give up everything to care for our loved ones. So I definitely do not think it's the
Mm.
people.
Mm.
I do think that if I put my logical hat back on, systems thinking says that every system is perfectly designed to get the results it gets.
Mm.
So if we want different results, we have to change the system. And
Yes.
I'm not talking about big, huge disruption. I mean, who wants to be disrupted, right? Nobody wants to be told, we're going to come in and disrupt you,
Yes.
because all you hear is you're doing it wrong.
Yes.
And that is not the case. It's we need to evolve. We need to make some tweaks. And there are some simple changes in the system that can have huge impact, that can have lasting, rolling impact.
Mm.
And one of those, I believe, is simply improving communication across the providers and with the family.
Mm.
And so, to kind of continue that story about my mom's hair, when I went in on that Saturday and found that it hadn't been cut, I said something like, "What happened?" I wasn't upset, but I was kind of irritated. And what I learned was that the amazing, extraordinary care staff had taken her up to the salon 4 times,
Oh,
and she was combative. She just kept saying no. So she was in that phase of Alzheimer's where it was being
yeah.
combative. She would bat at them or say not very nice things, which is not my mom,
Yeah.
just the disease. And after hearing that, it just broke my heart that they were so, and I was touched too, that they were so kind to try 4 times.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't in the cards, right? So for me, all of that could have been not even have happened. I didn't even need to have the angst about it if I had just had a quick communication. Hey, Kath, we tried. We tried to get your mom upstairs. She couldn't.
Yeah.
She wasn't into it today. That's it. That would have taken 30 seconds, right? And it's not the people.
Yeah.
The system right now is the obstacle. The system will not allow the care staff to communicate with family.
Yeah.
I think that's crazy.
It is crazy. And also for that, those care staff, like, wow, 4 times. That's
Yeah.
superhuman, right? And that's because they're driven by outcomes that they're trying to do every task. And so that's it. It's kind of like we just want to have success here so that we have done our job. So someone doesn't report us or get up. They don't want to have this situation. So even from all levels of communication, that's why I love it. You're approaching all of this holistically. It's about, that's right. You as the daughter, I just want to know, hey, the appointment was made. You did try. I totally understand why sometimes it doesn't go. And then you don't have that emotional roller coaster. It's the stress, isn't it? That when you've had poor communication, you then imagine, well, didn't you take her? What went wrong? All of those sorts of things. And then that unfortunately undermines the relationship and the trust. When you're saying you've actually got a really great facility, they're going above and beyond, right? Yeah.
Very much so, Annie. And you hit on my key word, which is trust. My goal with Serenity, which is a HIPAA compliant messaging app that is group oriented, allows you to have all of the family members, all of the key staff on a single app communicating and collaborating. So everybody's on the same page. My goal with that is to build trust, to create that channel of trust, I guess, the ability to have streamlined communications and super quick communications. We're all used to asynchronous messaging, which is text messaging. Okay. And for those who don't know, who are listening, asynchronous just means there's not someone on the other end responding immediately. It means you post and then they'll post back when they can.
Yeah.
So it's just not people use the word real time. It's not like a chat online where you say, I need help and someone responds. It's, hey, how's my dad's Depends supply? Does he need more? And then I know within 4, maybe 8 hours, they'll get back to me and say, it's kind of low. Maybe you should order another set,
Yeah.
So I really trust is the thing that I'm really trying to create, because so many times there's extraordinary care happening and family will never see it, even post-COVID and pre-COVID, because when can most family visit? Nights and weekends.
Yeah.
And the things that are happening nights and weekends are often sundowning, staff changes, discombobulation. Things just aren't in the standard structure. Same thing on weekends. You have weekend staff. So your loved one is probably a little bit discombobulated, and you're not getting the experience of what they're actually getting in terms of care on a regular basis. And I want to put a spotlight on these people because they're incredible. And I want to come back to something else we were talking about the care staff. Right now, the systems are set up so that care staff, really frontline care staff, doesn't talk to family unless family's physically there. So I come in and visit mom. I can chat with the care staff. Mm. I often hear from prospects of Serenity that they would never put their frontline care staff on Serenity because they don't know what they'll say to a family member, and they might put them at risk. And we know from the other side, right, that that's true. It's an important thing. So my response to that is, let's teach them. Then let's teach them. Yeah. Let's just tell them, educate them. They're not bad people. All they want to do is share these amazing moments that are happening with our loved ones with the family. Yeah. They just want to show that that mom or dad, sat down to play the piano, or told a joke and everybody cracked up, simple things, right? And the other thing that I often get, and I'm kind of airing this so that it's something, I'm not blaming people in any way, but I want people to know care staff is doing it anyway. They're text messaging and they're sending photos, and it's not HIPAA compliant, and communities have no idea what they're saying. Mm. So if you at least give them a mechanism to do it, then you have oversight into what they're doing, and you can use it as a training tool. You can not have them be on it. You can have them just monitor it, and then you can start to educate them how to use it and what to say to families and what not to say. Because we don't want to put a facility at risk. It doesn't serve the family if the facility is at risk. It doesn't serve the facility if they're at risk. So people hear the word transparency and they get a little frightened. They say, oh my gosh, we can't be transparent. There's so much behind HIPAA, or which you guys don't have HIPAA rules there, but privacy rules, et cetera. And what I say is, every business can be transparent. It doesn't mean that you're opening the kimono and talking about your, things behind the curtain. Exactly. Just be transparent about the care that you're providing. That's all family wants.
Yeah. I love what you mentioned there, that the nurses and the staff are doing it anyway. And that's so true, because look who's working in these facilities. They're people who are heart driven, right? They're people with just a desire to serve and to hopefully have a beautifully impactful day for, if that person had a better day because of the care that they gave. Like, we like to be proud of what we're doing and making a difference. And so therefore they'll privately, send you the messages, because they also then, get to know the family. A lot of people think that, they're just looking after the patient or the resident or the, whatever. It's no, when someone goes into care, it's their whole family that, you as the care provider has the relationship with, who's connected, who's brothers, who's sisters, you end up doing this life, family journey with different people. And so it is their desire. So if you actually look at risk, there is a lot more happening, external to the organization. And so I can understand the concern from the facilities that go, oh, okay, now everything can be measured and tracked in bits and pieces, but it's actually trying to work out a system, which is what I'm hearing from you, going, how do we bring the humanity into, a systems-based approach? How do we bring, within reason, just communicate, like, yes, there is always risk, but it's considered risk. I don't think it's risky by by just sending me a message or a picture of your mum with her hair done, not just the problem.
Yes.
Go, wow, look at your mum's face. We had a moment and she was excited and we took this photo and we sent it to you. And your day would just be like, yes, and you're just, that's right. More trust, more love, more appreciation for the whole context, everybody there. So
yeah,
what were your biggest obstacles then on, was it creating, I'm assuming from your background, it wasn't creating the app. That would have been possibly an easier thing than actually the implementing into one facility and then across a variety of facilities.
It's funny. You're absolutely right, but not for the reasons that you might think. It's easy for me to create it because my co-founder created it. he wrote the code.
It's all who
my what's that?
It's who we team up with that brings out the benefits, isn't it? Yeah.
It is. And my coding capabilities ended with Pascal and COBOL, which are really, really, really old programming tools. So people will laugh at those two words right now. So I certainly cannot code anymore to save my life, but I have someone who is a serial entrepreneur who is alongside me, and he's also a very skilled engineer. So he wrote the initial prototype, and we went out and actually we wrote the prototype, and he said, why don't you go try to sell based on the prototype and let's see what the appetite in the market is. And so I did, and the appetite was there. So we definitely were able to sell off of prototype. And this is what you would call the lean startup methodology, where you go out with something very small and you test it in the market. And then once we had a bite, we had to scramble and write the code. So that process is an interesting process to go through because it's not in me to sell something that doesn't exist. So it was really hard for me, but I'm so passionate about making this change that the concept wasn't hard for me to sell. So when it comes to, you asked if the developing was easier than the actual getting it implemented. The answer is absolutely yes. The industry, at least in the US, the senior care industry is undergoing a major transformation right now. And before COVID, the estimates were that 60% of CEOs of senior living communities would retire within the next 5 years. COVID has accelerated that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you think about that and you think about that big transition in terms of people retiring and new people coming in to take their jobs, the new people who are moving into those roles are more Gen X, Gen Y, and used to communicating electronically. And so they're walking in saying, why don't we have these things?
Yeah.
And the interesting thing that I'm seeing happen is they're going from paper-based, like 0 to 1,000 overnight is what they want, but it's not there because the industry wasn't ready for it. So they want to go from paper-based to everything automated in the snap of a finger and have everything interconnected. But the industry's still catching up because the demand wasn't there before. Yeah. So now vendors like me are working really, really hard to make sure that we offer best point solutions that we can, and then begin to integrate them with other solutions so that they don't have to have so many point solutions. But this is how technology has evolved in every industry ever.
Yes.
It starts with point solutions that do what they do really, really, really well. And then you begin to see them moving so that they integrate, and then there's acquisitions, and then there's sort of one-stop shopping.
I love that because, minds like yours are, that's right, on the first step into the next way of solving a problem. So you know what the problem is, and then you go, hey, I'll make the solution, and it works. And you have great confidence in that, even if you haven't done all the the scaling.
Yeah.
And people love the concept of change, but they actually find the actual adaptation of it or the implementation of it challenging because it's a whole new way. So they go, that would be really great. But then their mind will go, but that's not how we do it, or that would be so difficult to implement, or if we do it, but we're connected to all these other systems and, and then we can only go in if they all go in, and it's so, the challenges of these sorts of things are real. But saying that, it's just time, right? Because you can, I've seen that over and over again in my career, that someone comes out with an idea that was just ahead of the time. And so they just keep chipping. They just need an early adopter and show a successful case, if you like. And then gradually over time, others will adopt it. And COVID has been a time that's happened dramatically, hasn't it? Because now suddenly everyone's had all of their security sort of taken away. And so it's a time where you go, yeah, well, how can we do that? When we've had in Australia, images of people visiting their family, and you can just sort of be outside the glass and looking in and not even being able to have that physical contact for months. It's a time that people have had to really reassess, the relationship with family more and more. And I know you've had that, in incredible levels in the US with your situation.
Yeah. And I think globally, it's just, you see those images everywhere. This is unprecedented for most of us. There are a few people who lived in the Spanish influenza in the early 1900s. But for the most part, this is brand new for us, and we're navigating the best we can. And you're right, it's created a lot of opportunity for innovation and different kinds of thinking. And I share all these stories as part of our early days. We've been fortunate enough to attract those early adopters and get real traction in the market. And we have some incredible, stellar customers that are using this fully. And they tell us, have you read the book Upstream? Do you know that book from
Yes, I do know
Chip
that
and
book.
Dan Heath? And they talk about the parable in the very beginning, just for the audience listening. There's a story in Upstream that describes the concept of upstream, which is two women on a beach and children start flying into the water, like they're being thrown into the water. And the women run in to save the children, and they save them one by one and they pull them out. And at one point, one of the women starts walking up the beach and the other one says, "Where are you going? We need to save the children." And she said, "I'm going to stop the person who's throwing them in the water." And so it's like we have to go upstream and take care of the problem. And the reason it's so difficult is because if you solve a problem upstream, the problem never happened. Right? Yep. So when you solve upstream, which is what we're trying to do with a lot of the things we're trying to change, when you solve upstream, it's hard for people to create it tangibly in their mind, because suddenly you don't have the problem. I have communities who tell me, I just held a town hall with my family members to let them know what's going on in our community. And I have to tell you that it was the most amazing, magical conversation with these people. We are in this together. And if we didn't have serenity, if we hadn't had all this communication and transparency this whole time, it could have been a lynching.
Wow.
And that's really the difference for me, is these people are working their tails off, loving our loved ones and caring for them. And without communication, family goes a little crazy. With communication, we're on their side, and we should always be on their side.
Of course.
But it's human nature.
Yeah, exactly. It is human nature. When people are out of their comfort zone and feeling, threatened and panicked, then, we have a tendency to behave poorly, right? And it's all about communication. That we in a logical time, in an unstressed time, we know that we put someone, in their care for a reason. I imagine everyone who puts someone into care goes and does their research and looks at all their options and chooses the very best one, right, at that time.
Yeah.
And then that, when you're having good times, that they're all doing exactly what you wanted them to do, and they're putting their heart and soul into, making that life, as a best quality as possible for your loved one. And so that's it. It's just all about communication. It's saying when you do have a bad day upstream, instead of just putting the band-aids on all the time, actually fix it. Just say, okay, well, there's a logical flow of potential problems. We could just start and tell the family the good things and the challenging things. And it also gives you a better appreciation. I just love what you've done. And I love the way you've used your incredible business and life experience and skill set to just make a difference to globally, to people who are very much in your situation. So you're living and breathing the rewards of that, because you have that situation. I think it's an amazing concept that someone in tech actually goes, but I am the avatar, if you like. I am the person who is needing this. It's my mom or my dad who is there on the other side, and I want to feel connected with them. It's my staff who I know, who I want to, show that I value them and I appreciate that relationship. I think that's just such a joy, and you can see it in your face and you can see it as you speak. It's a delight, to be able to create something in a business sense that has such wonderful impact. So well done you, Kathrine. Amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for those kind words. I'm going to take those in. It's the first time in my life that I just have a knowing that I am doing the right thing. It's truly a knowing. There's not a doubt in my mind. I don't second guess myself. I know that what I'm doing is the right thing, and I can take 1,000 no's because I know I'll get to a yes. And I've gotten to many yeses, and I see the rewards.
Yeah.
And I see, this is the other fun thing, Annie, that happens. When you open this door of communication, communities often say, well, is family going to inundate me all of a sudden with questions? And, they want to know every little thing. And, I say truthfully, it's possible you're going to have some people like that in the beginning.
Yeah.
And what happens is once they know that door is open, it's the unpredictable. I won't get the right word, so I won't even try it. We're irrationally unpredictable as humans.
Yeah.
So if I know the door is closed to communication or difficult to open, then I'm going to try really hard to open it. But if I know it's open and I can walk in anytime, I don't need it so much. And all I really want are the little things. I just want to know, did mom get her hair cut? How's dad's mood today?
Yeah.
Is there anything mom needs that I can send her? Things like that. So where I started all of this last bit was we're starting to see family show gratitude on a regular basis with the care staff. And the care staff doesn't always get that. They get the angry families, right? Yeah. They get the adult daughter who comes in on a weekend and says, why didn't you get my mom's haircut? Yes. I was not that way. I was not. But I have seen it, and I have heard stories, and I know that it can be very difficult. So when you have family now saying, thank you so much for everything that you do on a regular basis, it changes. It changes everything. It changes the way the staff feels about their job, about what they do. It's in gaming, they call it the dopamine hit. So every time you hit a button and you get a little sound that says you did something good in the game, you get a little dopamine hit in your brain, right? Yeah. And so they need some more dopamine hits. These people, they're drowning right now. They need some more positivity from families. Yeah. And that's another thing that we are able to accomplish with Serenity. Wow. So it's been terrific seeing it. When you start a business, you don't know where it's going to go. And you have an idea. It rarely goes where you think it is, but we are not where I originally thought. I had the idea of a touch screen when you walk into the room, and you could just quickly touch and say, Dad had a shower today, kind of the ADLs, the activities of daily living. And what we've created, I think, is far more powerful.
Far more powerful. Exactly. Yeah. It's not a checklist. It's actually a life that you're co-managing and valuing and wanting to stay. It's that interconnectedness. I think that was on my introduction. It's allowing everyone to just be on the same page, for the
Yeah.
highs and lows, which is life, which is family, right? If you were in a different situation, then you'd have good days and bad days, and you'd be thankful and frustrated, and you just, that is life, right? It's actually
Yeah.
being real. And then not
Yes.
having to be defensive about that, not having to have all of that, because there are reasons, they're completely valid reasons why there's more challenges than benefits. And so therefore the opportunity to have that gratitude back, to have that appreciation, that's going to invest in everybody, because the more empowered and supported the caregiver is, then the better care they're going to give to your loved one. It's a cycle that's only going to be beneficial for all. And I just think that is so brilliant. So let's look at this podcast is all about successful women. And so you're a super successful woman, but I'm imagining your concept of success has actually changed over the last few years since breaking out of this corporate environment and doing something for purpose, if you like. What does it mean for you now?
This is such a powerful question for me, because my definition of success growing up, shall I say, in the tech world with mostly men at the table, there was usually myself and one other female at the table, almost always. However, I was very fortunate. I worked in some really amazing companies that had more women at the table. But learning how to navigate that and moving up the ladder was the most important thing to me. So I really believed my brothers, I have 3 brothers, they would call me bossy. I think I'm just the boss. So I have always just assumed I'm in charge, and I just go and do and make things happen. And that served me well and not so well all the time. But it really was about how high can I climb on the corporate ladder. And I had one job where it really just shattered my whole idea of that. And that was when I saw the CEO doing some very, very wrong things. And I did my best to report it to the board. And what I got from the board was, shut up in not so many kind words. And by the way, we're going to make your life miserable now because we're supporting the CEO and he can do no wrong. And I'm like, whoa, he's literally doing things that he should be in jail for. But okay. And so it really just shattered my whole idea of what does it mean to climb up the ladder? I don't want to be in a situation like that ever. So that wasn't the jumping off point, but it was the job after that was the jumping off point for Serenity. And I would say my definition of success now is not the dollars, it's not the title. It's I walked away from a very, very, very lucrative, more money than I've ever made in my life, job offer to start Serenity. And we needed the money at the time.
Yeah.
So this is where now, and I'm learning this, I'm getting this as I'm talking about it with you right now, Annie, is that was probably the pivotal moment for me where my definition of success changed. My definition was not, oh my gosh, I can make this much money and have this title. It was, I can start a company that's going to make a difference in people's lives, and I'm going to make money doing it.
Yeah.
I am going to make money doing it, and I am making money doing it. But my goal isn't the making money. My goal really initially was, I want to make a difference. I want to make a difference. This does not have to be so hard.
Yeah.
And I see a better way. So I need to create a better way for people.
Yeah. I think you've beautifully articulated the value alignment. It's not the money that's bad. Money is great. We should want more money because then we can actually do more things, right? We can, whether you use it for yourself or give it to others or be a philanthropist, there is nothing wrong. We should want to be as successful in as possible in that way. Saying that, previously you're saying it was your number one. If I climb the ladder, I get more money, and therefore that equals success. So whereas now you're actually saying, no, the value alignment for you, it actually showed in that pivotal moment that the value you were confronted that your value of making a difference or being of, of significance to those you love and others in the world was more important, and therefore it sort of jumped the queue, and therefore you'll also still make money, which is a good thing, but it's not the driver. The purpose was the driver, and the money was the product, right? And if we can find that, as you have done, the whole world changes, because you go, I bet you have those days of saying, I can't believe I do get paid for this because I love it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. This is not a job. This is life. This is my life. And it's a part of my life, but it's not a separate part of my life. It's woven into everything I do. And I still have, amazing friends I see, and I still have adult children that I parent a little bit. And, there's still things that I do. I'm still on boards. Both of my parents passed last year, so I'm grateful that they passed pre-COVID. And my heart hurts for anyone who is dealing with a loved one during COVID. My heart goes out to you if you're dealing with that. And, I love my full life, and my full life right now is heavily leaning towards serenity and the business. And that's okay. It doesn't have to be a perfect balance of this much time taking care of me and this much time doing this and this much time doing that. I really have the balance because what I do is so heart filling and soul filling. And you're right. We often say, we have a little acronym for it in our household, actually. I can't wait until we have loads of money, because here's what we're going to do with it. And it's all about helping other people. We have a terrible homeless problem here in Denver, Colorado. We have an affordability problem of senior care in the United States. I don't know if the same is, no, you guys have a different system. I have a friend who's married to an Aussie, and both of his parents, actually, they were there in senior care in Australia. And just the stark difference is, I think I would move there.
Yeah. We are blessed, and we need to realize that. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so that's it. So who knows where this is going to take you. So as a businesswoman now, and you've launched Serenity, and you're expanding greatly. Is it already global? Where are you tracking at the moment?
Yeah, so we're not totally global, other than we have family members who live all over the world, and they're on Serenity, keeping in connection with the care staff for their loved ones here in the US. But we have some global prospects who are very interested, and there's no reason for us not to be fully global.
Super exciting. Oh my gosh, I can't see why anyone wouldn't want to implement this system. So well done, you beautiful lady, and beautiful mind, and and the boldness to make that decision, because that's it. Often people go, oh, well, you're at a stage of your life that you can just do it and it's easy. It's not easy. It's not easy to back yourself with a whole new concept. So for us entrepreneurs and those who have got startups, it is a huge moment of going, gee, I hope this works, but I really believe in my concept, and so to be able to go through those hard times, and often it is with giving up a lot. And so I think I'm constantly impressed by people who do that and back themselves. And that's it. When you said before, you can take 100 no's, but you just know that there's another one coming. That's the state of mind that you have to be in, from my view, to be successful, because it's above the environment. It's above, you're like, I so believe in this, and I believe in my abilities, and I believe in the solution that it provides to people, that all those other things they're just timing, they're just obstacles, but you power on. And so you've articulated that beautifully in your journey, that's exactly what you've done. You've gone and said, yep, just keep pushing. It doesn't mean that you have to doubt yourself. It doesn't mean that you doubt your product. It's actually just, that's right. You're waiting for other people to adapt, for them to find out, to work with them to find other solutions, because there's a domino effect with everything, right?
There is.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And what you just described is the concept of not having your ego tied to everyone saying yes.
Yes.
So I don't judge the value of what we do or my value, which many people do, especially as an entrepreneur, because we're so wrapped up in it.
Yeah.
And I've seen other entrepreneurs do this. I have to work really hard at it. It's not easy, but I have to keep that mindset that when I hear a no, it's not about me. It's not about my product. It's not about my concept. It's about the timing. It's about them.
Yeah.
They're not ready. They're not the right person. They're not. So there's this adage in dating. If somebody's not the right person, move them on, because the right person might be right behind them. So make space, right?
Yeah.
And that's how you have to kind of think of it as an entrepreneur. Really looking for those early adopters, the people who see the value and they're willing to do something about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And remove the distractors. Have the confidence to go, okay, we spent enough time. You're not the right person. I'll move to the next person. Because that's it. That's where a lot of the time wasting happens with people who aren't aligned with what you're doing. How do you celebrate your wins, Kathrine? How do you enjoy your moments?
Oh, such a great question. Our team, I have to think about this. What I see is my team probably keeps me really buoyed in all of this. And when we have a celebration, somebody on the team always says, "Oh, wait a minute, we need to stop and take a moment. Let's acknowledge what just happened. This is big. And do you get the impact of that? And do you see how you contributed and how amazing this is and what doors this opened?" So I'm going to say my team is unbelievable at that.
I love that. Shows you've got a really great team, because that's it. It's stopping to smell the roses and appreciate all the people who made that happen as well. Often just the one, one or two people get a recognition for something or award, and we all know that there's so many people. It is the team. And by often, I've noticed that when I sit back and actually really soak up that moment, there's you often get new thoughts of, oh, we could try a little bit more, or by being pausing and reflecting, you can still see where the strengths were or the weaknesses were, the new opportunities, the new skill set that you saw of one of your team members, a new ability, someone rose up to be a leader, in a new situation. It's amazing, isn't it? So whereas when you're full power ahead, you're doing, it's nice to just be. It's just like, let's just be in this moment. So, wow.
Yeah. And it keeps us going and reminds us that we've gotten this far.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of people don't get this far. We've gotten this far and we have a long way to go, and we're going.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I have so loved our conversation today. You are just such an impressive, beautiful lady. How do people find you, Kathrine?
Yeah, email me directly, Kathrine, Katherine, at serenityengage.com.
Great. So just reach out to Kathrine if this is something that you're listening to and go, oh my goodness, like I've either got a facility somewhere in the world that I work at, or I'm actually in Kathrine's situation of, I have a relative in a facility and I'd love to raise the opportunity with the place that they're at. Just reach out to Kathrine and she will definitely be able to line up some conversations for you. Well, thank you so much for
Absolutely.
Memoirs of Successful Women. Wow. I'm blessed to have heard your story and to hear what you're doing in the world. So well done. Keep powering on.
Annie, thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity, and I what you're doing for your listeners is incredible. So thank you. I'm honored to know you.
Thank you. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Memoirs of Successful Women. You can find me at anniegibbins.com, where you can download my free resources, get connected on social, and check out my online magic transformation program. If you love this show, feel free to subscribe to future episodes, and of course, share it with your friends. I'll see you again soon, and until then, happy podcasting.